Welcome back, guys. We're going to be going to Scorn of the Beast of the Dark 2, and this time we're going to be doing a budget run. We're going to be using cheap units, old units, cheap gear, free stuff, and then a Tifa friend. This strategy does rely on a relatively powerful Tifa friend. If you don't have a good Tifa friend, I recommend you look for one on like social media like Reddit, Discord, Facebook, etc. But we need a Tifa friend to pretty much carry this clear. If you have your own Tifa as well, that makes it way easier and you don't need nearly as good of a friend Tifa. But we're going to assume that you don't have your own Tifa at all. So we're going to be doing this way, and we're going to rely on the friend to carry the majority of the fight. So for these units I use, you can swap them out for 7-star or Neovision versions of, better versions of these units. But this is going to be like the core cheap strategy we're going to use. So Veritas of the Earth is going to be chosen because he can buff Earth Resist by 100%. He absorbs Earth, which makes gearing him easier. And he can physical cover. So he needs to be full evasion, which is a little tricky as a budget run, but this is all pretty cheap gear. The only thing that might be hard to do is the Pluto Shield. This is an old event item which is no longer available. It's 20% evasion. If you don't have this, you can sub this out. Like, for example, the Invigorator can be replaced by, more evasion accessories. Or if you have evasion STMRs, it makes it real easy to gear him. But anyway, he's going to be evade covering, and he needs 10,000 needles. Because for the first part of the fight, he's only going to be using needles, and then he's going to cover later in the fight. So 10,000 needles, and give him a little bit of mana regen as well, so he's self-sufficient. We gave him the Invigorator. That's going to keep his mana good to go for this fight. Crowe is going to be chosen because he has Passive Provoke naturally in his kit. He also has 20% evade in his kit, which makes him easier to gear. So he needs to be full evasion as well. I know it's a little tricky to call it a budget run, and I'm using 2 units full evasion, but I mean, it's cheap gear, and it's some free stuff. This trial, it kind of needs it for the strategy. So there we go. Full evasion Crowe with charm immunity. If you don't have the super ribbon, which is where he's getting his charm immunity from, you can use Locke's TMR. I've mentioned that a few times. Or you could sub him out. You could bring like Awakened Warrior of Light and gear Awakened Warrior of Light for Passive Provoke evasion or something. Or Paladin Cecil. Or anyone with natural charm immunity. But make sure they are also immune to silence. Super Ribbon gives that. If you're not using Super Ribbon, just make sure they're silence immune. And give them a source of single target dispel. Now we're using the Aura Sword on Kenny. This is a permanent item available from a treasure chest in one of the stories. So go ahead and get that. If you don't have it, it's always there. And he needs to be on an Esper to give Bar Stonga. Mine is using this on Titan. You can also teach Bar Stonga to Golem. It's up to you which one, but Titan is a convenient source. So 70% Earth Resist buff, single target dispel, full evade, passive provoke, and charm and silence immune. Crowe is a good choice here. You can swap him out if you want, and give him a little bit of mana regen as well. He's using the magical top hat. That'll give him some mana regen. Cloud can be literally any finisher you want. You want to bring a finisher. If the Tifa friend you bring is like perfect gear, really powerful, she can actually solo carry this. My Tifa is not that good. I'm bringing my own Tifa, by the way. So I need to bring a little bit of extra help. If you've got your own Tifa, she would replace Cloud here. You could also replace Cloud with like Neovision's Adele, Furion, Ibarra. Not Ibarra. Don't bring Ibarra. Her finisher is dark damage. Remake Cloud. You get the idea. Just bring your best finisher that can deal damage to the boss. We're bringing Cloud, and we're giving him the Craftsman's Secret Book so he can imbue himself with fire and wind. This is a 4-star TMR. If you don't have it, I recommend you Moogle it. It's pretty good for this fight. Other than that, he's wearing very cheap gear, so my Cloud is not very impressive. I intentionally geared him in all budget stuff, either free gear or just cheap gear. And he's got 275 human, barely any stone, but this is more about bursting Shiva. Stone Killer is less important. Killing Golem slower is fine, but we gotta kill Shiva pretty quickly. And then LB damage, etc. And again, swap him out for the best swap is for your own version of Tifa. We're bringing Mystia for the magical cover tank. You can bring any magical cover tank you want, but they want 100% to ice and dark resist. We don't need the full 220 for this strategy. Just 100% is fine. Make her immune to statuses as well, and give her dual wield and a wind or fire weapon. We're going with a wind weapon, but a fire weapon would have been totally fine. And if you're using Mystia, I recommend you give her Kurega, the Materia, and Raise, the Materia. These are buyable with Star Quartz from the Fat Chocobos, so go pick them up. She's gonna be more of like a healer support unit in Phase 2 after Shiva is gone. And we gave her a tiny amount of mana regen. Oh, and very important, the reason she's dual wielding a wind weapon is she's on Kokuryu for flood chaining. Kokuryu has Wicked Current learned, or is it Violent Current? And then Leviathan has Wicked or Violent Current. One's Wicked, one's Violent. I don't know. It's the flood chaining skills that give them the physical version of flood. So Alhina is the other unit which we're taking. Alhina is chosen because he's free, and he has a 120% fire and wind imperil. He's limited, though. He's currently available at the time of this video. His event is currently active, so let's go pick him up for free. If you're watching this video in the future, he's no longer available, you didn't get him, you can swap him out for anyone that can imperil fire and wind, like Seeker of Freedom Vaughn, Kryla, whoever. Make sure he's dual wielding a wind or fire weapon, and he's on the Flood Esper as well. Gave him some mana regen, and give him Bushido Freedom. That's going to allow him to remove the imperils. Now, the catch with the Bushido Freedom is it damages your own team, so keep Alhina's attack power as low as you possibly can. 200 attack power, Bushido Freedom's not going to kill anyone. If you're bringing someone like, Vaughn or Lauren or someone with really high attack power and they've got like 1,000 attack, you're at risk of killing your own team. I'd recommend you try to keep their attack as low as you possibly can and hope you don't kill anyone. But Alhina's not going to have that problem. The last thing with Alhina is he needs to be level 110. He gets his good imperil at level 110. Now, the Tifa friend, like I mentioned, needs a really specific build. For one thing, Tifa, and the whole team, by the way, needs a minimum of 30% earth resist for this strategy. In the base form, she needs to also be using the Craftsman's Secret Book. If your friend doesn't have it, tell him to go Moogle it. It's a cheap team bar, and it's valuable for this fight. Other than that, she wants a lot of auto limit. I think I've got only 11 auto limit instead of... Yeah, I've only got 11 auto limit, but 11 auto limit plus Call of the Wild is all you need. That'll give her LB good to go without using any kind of fills or crystal drops. Other than that, we gave her the Parasol to speed up the Esper mission. That's optional. And then the last thing in the base form is she wants a source of attack buff automatically. The best option is Fenrir Synergy if you have this. If you have this, ask your friend to put that on her base form. That's going to give her a 200% attack buff on turn 1. If you don't have Fenrir Synergy, use Bomb Arms instead. This is a permanent item, so everyone has this. It's from the original Bomb Trial. You can use this on turn 1 instead of the Secret Book and to imbue fire and get a 120 attack buff. It's not as good as the Fenrir Synergy, but it's still fine. The Shift form is where we need her damage to come from. She's going to be geared for LB damage and Human Killer with any spare gear slots given towards or spent on Stone Killer. But the priority is Human Killer and LB damage. So we've got 300 Human Killer, which is easy on Tifa. She's got 200% passively. And then 255% LB damage. And we've got 250 Stone Killer. That's just going to speed up the fight. That's not critical, though. So here's the gear. We've got the Thorn Mace for Human Killer, a little bit of Graceful Footwork, a lot of LB damage, and then the Final Fantasy VII card. And so the Stone Killer is coming from the goggles and the bunny jacket. And then she's got 30 or better Earth Resist. Alright, let's get in here and do this. I've talked too much. Losing my voice. Okay, so I've planned out these turns very specifically. If you're following this guide, I recommend you follow what I do step by step and don't really deviate very much, because I'm doing things on specific turns and in specific ways for reasons. So I recommend you follow this step by step. So turn 1, Kenny Crowe is going to Bar Stonga. We're going to 10,000 Needles with Veritas. Mystia is going to try Tellurwall. By the way, if you're using Mystia and you're not replacing her with a 7-star tank, make sure you enhance her Tritelia Wall, otherwise it'll probably fail. Alhina and Cloud are just going to guard on this first turn. And Tifa is going to imbue fire with the book. That's Furnace Flames. If you're not using Fenris Energy, you can use Bomb Arms. But we're using Fenris Energy, so we're going to go ahead and do this. Yeah, Bomb Arms would give a 120 attack buff instead of a 200% if you didn't have Fenris Energy. Alright, so here's the attacks. You know, whatever. There are going to be some counterattacks with Kenny and Veritas and Tifa. Everybody's countering. Notice how Tifa's LB is good to go already because we gave her Auto Limit and Call of the Wild. Alright, so turn 2. First thing you want to do is dispel Shiva's resist buff right away with Kenny Crowe. Now we're going to use Alhina to Imperil. His good Imperil is Magnum Opus. It's not available until turn 4 though. I mean, he's a free unit. What do you expect? So we're going to Carnage Flare for a 100% Imperil. Mystia is going to just cover again. We're just going to 1,000 Needles again. Tifa is going to shift, and we're going to use her Magnus. We're not going to use Concentration. You do not want to concentrate, because that'll imbue her with water, and we don't want that. Cloud's going to just guard here. The reason we're guarding Cloud or the second finisher, which would be, you know, a second Tifa, we don't want to over-push the boss on this first burst. And so we're just going to use one Tifa to burst on this first time. If we use 2 Tifas, we would definitely push her below 50, and we don't want that. Yet. Alright, so turn 3, before we do anything, right away, we're going to target Golem and single target Dispel him. That gets rid of the cover, because now it's time to burst on Shiva. So we're going to change target back to Shiva. Now Mystia is going to chain Cursed Current from Kokuryu. Alhina is going to chain Violent Current with Leviathan. And Tifa is going to cap. Now the goal here is to knock Shiva as low as we can without going past 50%. So something like 52, 53% would be great. You know, mine might do a little bit less. She's not like super well geared. I mean, she's decently geared, but it could be better. But yeah, as long as we get her somewhere like at least 60 or below, we should be fine. So we're going to chain Flood. Now, the bosses are immune to water, so Flood would normally fail. That's the reason we gave the 2 chainers a wind or fire weapon. So we're going to dual element chain, which will work. So wait till the chain above 15, and then we're going to go ahead and cap with Tifa. Wow, my Tifa's better than I expected. That was a little close. So we almost went too far. That's the reason you want to only burst with 1 Tifa the first time. I mean, that was as close as it gets. Yeah. Wow, real close. So we're going to go ahead and guard Cloud, and we're going to 1,000 Needles here, and we're going to hope that the boss is more than 10,000 health above 50%. Okay, we're good. So now we're going to get a Threshold. Alright. Okay, so the Threshold broke our stats and gave us an Imperil. Normally the boss would use Zombie on turn 3, but because we pushed a Threshold on turn 3, we forced Shiva to skip Zombie, which is the reason we're doing it this way. It makes us not have to deal with Zombie at all. It's a little bit easier this way. Okay, so we're imperiled and broken and all that, so we're going to fix that with Alhina. We're going to Bushido Freedom and target our own team. And because his attack power is so low, it's going to do like no damage. Yeah, there you go. But that's the reason you want to use someone with low attack power. But we dispelled all our debuffs and our buffs, so now we need to rebuff. So we're going to cover with Mystia. We're going to 1,000 Needles with Veritas. Kenny Crowe is going to bar Stonega. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and get our DPS ready. Tifa on this turn is going to Hot Fever. This is a 250% attack buff, which is better than the one we had earlier. And now Cloud is going to Fenrir Full Throttle. That's going to give him an attack buff as well. If you were using a second Tifa, the second Tifa would do the exact same thing the friend Tifa is doing. But basically, just get your DPS set up to burst in a few turns. We're not bursting yet. Yeah. And again, the reason we're doing this this way is to line up the debuffs and the buffs with the boss's actions. So we could have technically imbued last turn and started setting up for the burst again, but we didn't want to do it that way. Now Tifa is going to imbue fire. The second DPS is going to imbue fire. Mystia can just cover again. Verita, we're going to reload. These two can just Veritas and Mystia can just repeat. Kenny Crowe, though, needs to dispel. We're going to... Actually, no, we're not dispelling yet. We're just going to refresh the Barstonga. And Alhina's going to guard. Yeah, my bad. So to turn 5, we just refresh all the buffs, and we imbue the DPS. Now we're going to start setting up for burst. Yeah, you see here how the bosses put up a resist buff last turn? That's the reason we didn't want to set up for the burst the turn previously, because this turn they would have the resist buff. So now Kenny is going to single target dispel Shiva to get rid of that resist buff. Now we can start setting up for the final burst. So we're going to finally Magnum Opus with Alhina, which puts up that 120 in peril. Tifa is going to shift and get her just her Magnus, don't concentrate. Awaken Fighting. Cloud is going to do nothing. Don't use Cherry Blossom. I know Cherry Blossom buffs his LB damage, but don't use that because it'll mess. Just trust me, don't use it. It'll mess up the plan. These two can just repeat. All right. The bosses are gonna do their thing, and we're gonna go ahead and finish off Shiva this time. So, before we chain, we once again need to dispel Golem. Single target dispel Golem. Once these two finish. Alright, let's have Kenny Crowe single target dispel Golem, which removes the cover. And now it's time to burst. So we're going to Cursed Current. We're going to Violent Current. Tifa's going to cap, and Cloud's going to cap. On Shiva. Make sure you change target back to Shiva. Now this time, compared to the previous burst, we've got a 120 in peril instead of 100% in peril, and Tifa's got a 250 attack buff instead of a 200 attack buff. And we're going to burst with a second finisher. So it'll be quite a bit easier. So we're going to send this, we're going to send Cloud, we're going to wait until the chain is built, and then we're going to cap. And then, oh, okay, so you saw how Tifa, when she capped, she brought the boss to 2%. So Tifa by herself would not have been enough. She was a little bit short. And then Cloud finished off the last bit. That's why you want 2 finishers for that second burst to make sure to make sure Shiva gets finished off. Yeah, my Tifa did 48%, and then Cloud did the remaining 3%. Thanks, Cloud, you helped. Okay, so now, we're just gonna Mirage. Whatever. We didn't push threshold on Golem, so we won't have to do anything special. Okay, so now the Golem's going to start doing that gravity attack on Kenny Crowe. We no longer need to cover with Mystia, so that's fine. And we're going to start setting up for bursting on Golem. Alright, Cloud is going to... we're going to imbue Wind with the 2 DPS here. So, imbue Wind, imbue Wind. Veritas of the Earth can just Mirage for now. Kenny Crowe will cast Barstonga to refresh the resist buff. Mystia can just Kurega. This is just to give Kenny Crowe a little bit of health back. And the boss has that good Imperil for... oh, he's not imperiled. Okay, so I guess we're going to imperil with Alhina with Tornado Cross because Magnum Opus is on cooldown. So we're going to Tornado Cross to do a 100% wind imperil. Okay. Alright, Mystia can just go ahead and summon an Esper so I don't forget. We need to summon an Esper at some point. We will... Full Throttle's not available, so we'll just... Is Cloud's LB even ready? It's actually not ready. So we're going to live stream... Charge Limit and Cherry Blossom on Cloud. Actually, we're not going to Cherry Blossom until the next burst. We're going to just Charge Limit and do this. Alright, Tifa's going to shift. Now, Tifa's Magnus is no longer available. So we're instead going to use the weaker version, Unleashed Fighting Spirit. It's still something. Let's see. Mirage and just refresh Barstonga. Alhina. Nothing really to do. We just guard. Okay, now we're going to burst Golem. Probably push the threshold. I mean, we definitely will. Okay, let's do a burst on Golem. We're imbued with wind. We're going to cap, we're going to cap, and we're going to chain with these two. Violent current, violent current. Alright. So we go ahead and chain. We send Cloud. And once the chain's above 15, we send Tifa. Who does the majority of the damage, let's be honest here. Okay, so we're going to... we can just guard these two. 1,000 needles, guard, whatever. And the boss is going to do a threshold. This is going to imperil us to Earth. It's also going to kill Kenny Crowe. I should mention that. Kenny Crowe is going to die from those thresholds. Because he's taking a 150 in peril. That's okay. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is... Threshold is done. So we're going to Bushido Freedom, our own team. Make sure I'm doing this all right. Okay. Mystia is going to dual cast. We're going to raise up Kenny for the provoke. And we're going to Kurega, just to heal a little bit. Alright, we need Earth Resist, and we need Mirage. Because Kenny was dead, we're going to have Veritas of the Earth swap to Cover instead. That's going to, we don't need Earth Resist or Mirage if you've got Evade Cover for this turn. So Tifa is going to, let's see here. We're going to Imbue Wind. Yeah, we're going to Imbue Wind. Cloud is going to Imbue Wind. And we're going to get ready for bursting again. And because of the auto limit, Tifa, her LB is filled again. Unfortunately, Veritas of the Earth loves the counterattack. That's going to be a little bit of a headache, these counterattacks. Oof. Annoying. Oh, come on, Veritas. I got things to do. Stop it! OMG. Okay, there we go. Tifa, let's go ahead and shift. Let's do Unleashed Fighting. Cloud can double cast. Fill LB gauge, and we'll do Fenrir Full Throttle. We're going to imperil the boss with Magnum Opus. Kenny will bar Stonega. We can swap Veritas back to 1,000 Needles. And Mystia will just dual cast a heal for Kenny Crowe. Alright, we're going to burst next turn. So we should kill this in 4 burst, I think. The damage Kenny's taking is gravity damage. It won't kill him. Thresholds will, though. Because he's got a big imperil up. So Tifa currently does not have an attack buff. I'm realizing I didn't bring a way to buff her attack. I should have put an external buff. I should have put a way to buff on, like, someone to buff her. Or I should have taken a turn to buff. I'm not sure. We're going to see what kind of damage we deal without an attack buff. After freeze of the... Oh, quit it! Oh my god! Can you please stop? Thank you. Alright, let's go ahead and cap. Let's go ahead and cap. Let's go ahead and chain. Let's go ahead and chain. And... we pushed both thresholds, actually. Nice. Okay, Veritas can just, not that. Can just Earth and Ward. Is Kenny Crowe imperiled? Oh, he is. Kenny Crowe, I love you. Goodbye. You're dead. Threshold time. We pushed 2 thresholds. So he can do this back to back. Alright, so let's go ahead and have Alhina. Bushido Freedom, our team. Okay, Mystia will raise. Now, because we pushed 2 thresholds, he's going to do that back-to-back. Thresholds are 80, 60, and 40. So he's going to do that again. So you have to keep that in mind. You might not push 2 thresholds here. So you might have a little bit different when you do this. But because we pushed 2 thresholds, we're going to do it like this. We're going to raise, and we're going to just heal. We need Earth Resist again. We don't need cover. We need Earth Resist because of that threshold. So we're going to... Earth and Ward for the Earth Resist, and it's a threshold, so we're just going to have Cloud fill his LB twice. Tifa can guard. Okay. Threshold. Again, this is the last threshold. Okay. And Kenny didn't die because he wasn't imperiled. Now we're imperiled again, so we're going to Bushido Freedom, our own team, to get rid of those imperils. Kenny's alive, so he can actually Mirage for us, so we actually don't need to cover. So we can, I'm sorry, no, I mean Kenny can resist buff for us. So we're going to bar Stonga, which means Veritas can just Mirage instead of covering. We won't have all these counterattacks to deal with. And let's get set up. Let's go ahead and have Tifa. I was gonna say let's do an attack buff, but nah, let's just wind buff. It's fine. We're gonna wind. We're going to wind. Mystia will double cast a heal to keep Kenny Crowe alive. And we're done. We're gonna finish off the fight in like 2 or 3 turns. Alright, Alhina, we need to imperil. Let's go ahead and Magnum Opus. Let's cap. Oh, we need the... You know what? Instead of doing the LB damage buff, we're just gonna cap as is. It should be fine. Oh no, because Alhina can't chain this turn. Never mind. So we're gonna do the buff. We're gonna unleash Fighting Spirit. I guess Cloud will do Cherry Blossom and just Cherry Blossom. Let's see. Resist buff, Mirage, heal. And we'll burst next turn. I hope we can get it in 20 turns. We should be able to. And of course, if you were using like a double Tifa, the boss would be dead already. But we're using Cloud. Don't be mean to Cloud. He's helping. All right, so we're gonna chain. We're gonna cap. We're going to cap. Let's go ahead and chain. Send Cloud. Tifa after the chain's above 15. We cap. Oh, so close. Okay. Mirage and thing. There's no more thresholds, so we're just gonna keep going. Yeah, we're gonna win on turn turn like 19. We're gonna be just under the turn limit. But that's fine, we got it. We got it! Alright, Tifa's back in base form. We're just gonna go ahead and re-imbue Wind. Cloud's gonna re-imbue Wind. Let's see. Mystia will just Kurega to heal Kenny. Do this. The boss is imperiled for 2 more turns, right? Yeah, he's imperiled already. We'll just refresh and imperil anyway. Okay, we're gonna win on turn 19. Tifa in her base form has 12 auto limits, so she fills her LB good to go. And we're just gonna burst next turn without using the without using the power up. We're gonna shift and just burst immediately. Oh, I didn't do Cloud's charge ups, so Cloud can't help here. It's fine. Tifa can do it by herself. Okay. Let's finish off this fight. Curse Current. Here, we'll summon another Esper just to say we did. Tifa's gonna shift. And cap. Boom! All missions in 19 turns. Didn't use any items. We summoned an Esper twice. And we did it in 20 turns or less with a really budget team. Okay, hopefully that's been helpful. I know this trial has been giving some people some problems. There we go. So, see you for the next trial.